Hi, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I posted any videos to this channel, so I thought we were due for an update. If anyone has been wondering, I am still learning Chinese. It has been almost 3 years. At some point, I gotta do another update, but as you might imagine, I am in the middle of sort of the intermediate plateau. And so I am learning and I'm still having a lot of fun, but I'm just sort of in the messy middle. So again, more on that later. But for today's video, I really want to talk about a tool that I have been using in my study of Chinese. And that is a new e-reader app that I have coded for myself. Or it's better to say that I have used AI to vibe code it. Now, if you don't know what vibe coding is, it's really just getting AI agents to help you write most or almost all of your code. And I have some coding skills that I got during school and just working on personal projects, but nowhere near the coding skills that would be required to build what I'm about to show you. And so with AI to the rescue, I was able to use it and I was able to whip up something pretty good, at least something that's been pretty useful for me. So what does this app do? It is essentially a version of Kindle where you can have books and other texts and you can read stuff, but I have added a bunch of other features that make it useful for language learners like myself, which I will show you in a minute. It was heavily inspired by a platform you may have heard of if you're in the language learning space called LingQ, and I'm still a big fan of that platform, and it's something that I used to use all the time, but I have to admit that what I'm about to show you has replaced the vast majority of my use of that platform. Okay, so let's take a look. So this is the app. Right now there's me, Josh, and then I did give access to one of my other friends named James, so that's why he has his own profile as well. But let's just go into my profile. And what you will immediately see is kind of a library view. Again, this is somewhat similar to what you would see if you were on Kindle or something like that, but really customized to what I wanted it to look like. Again, this is one of the main reasons why I don't use LingQ anymore. There were just certain things about the platform that I wanted to be different. And at one point I thought, okay, let me just code something up myself. So you have this library view, you have the books that I'm currently reading, which you can see here. And a lot of these I will note you'll see this little simplified banner here. These are books that I basically took the original version of the book and I ran it through ChatGPT, which helped me simplify these books greatly. And I have another video on that process, which I can link to. But essentially it takes that very complicated book, complicated for me to read as a learner of Chinese. It simplifies the language greatly using simpler words, simpler sentences, and it also shortens it quite a bit. Makes it a lot more digestible. And so you can see if you look at these books, this is basically the first Lord of the Rings book. This is part 2 of the first book of the Stormlight Archive, which is The Way of Kings. This is the first 3-body problem book. This is the 5th Harry Potter book. This is a book called Journey to the West. This is a famous kind of Chinese story, and this is a version that was made specifically for language learners, so pretty simplified language. And then all of these books are Chinese, right? Chinese is the main language that I'm learning right now, but I also have support for Spanish, which is a language I know much better than Chinese, though I'm very rusty, and Turkish, which is a language that I used to know better, but I'm even rustier on that. So I have this one Spanish book that I have started as well. So this is the books that I'm currently reading. If I scroll down, there are some books that I paused, like these are books that I started, but I have decided to put a pause on them. This is the full first book of the Harry Potter series, not simplified with ChatGPT. So this is like the real version that you would get if you were a native speaker. I'm about a third through this and it's readable for me, but it's very slow. And so I decided to put it on pause while I read some of the more simplified books that I showed you. This is the first Lord of the Rings book, again, not simplified. I barely started this, but this is even harder. So I decided, let me put it on pause until I have a bit higher level of Chinese. And this is the first Hunger Games book in Turkish. And at one point I had the ambition that I was going to be brushing up on my Spanish and my Turkish at the same time as learning Chinese, and that kind of fell by the wayside. So right now I'm basically just doing Chinese. And then I have a bunch of books to read. And you can see I have simplified versions of the rest of the Harry Potter series. Then starting here, this is the full non-simplified versions of the Harry Potter series. So this is book number 2. This is book number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the full non-simplified version of 3-Body Problem, which is a beast and one that I would love to be able to read someday. And then I have the Wizard of Earthsea series. This is a book series that I converted for my friend James, who also has a profile. And then I have some other books here that I converted for him as well. And then I have some that are yet to be converted, but coming soon. The rest of the Lord of the Rings series, the rest of the Three Body Problem series, the rest of the Stormlight Archive series, and Dune and 4 Hour Workweek is one other one I might do. Okay, so that's the to read section and the paused section. And then the other thing I have is a section of books that I've read. So what this has so far is these first 4 or 5 books. These are all graded readers. So you may know Mandarin Companion if you're studying Chinese. These are very, very short books that they've published, and I was able to convert into a format that can be used here. I've already read the simplified versions of the first, second, third, and fourth Harry Potter books. And then I've read part 1 of the first book in the Stormlight Archive series. So part 1 of Way of Kings has, I think, 5 different parts. It's a beast, and I'm reading them one part at a time. So this is just the first part that I finished, and as I showed up here, I'm still in the middle of the second part. So what you'll see is, for each of these books, there's certain information, right? There's the title, there's the author, there's a number of words, there's my progress both on a chapter level and then as a percent of the book. So this is, I'm basically a little over halfway through chapter 3 of this book, 10 minutes left. I have the ability here to estimate the time left based on, basically I measure my reading speed. And so this is just a rough estimate. It'll actually vary pretty wildly depending on what book I'm reading and how difficult it is. And then this is the percentage of the way I'm through the entire book. The last stat here is the percentage known. And so this is a stat that I'm calculating based on basically taking all of the words in the book. And then I have a database of words that I know fairly well. And so this is the percent of the total book volume. This is the percent of the total book by, word volume that is words that I know or that I've studied. And could recognize and read without basically a dictionary. So this, 89% known. So this means that about 89% of the words are words that I know. You'll see that for some of these other books, like this second part of the first Way of Kings book, I know 91%. You get to Harry Potter, stuff like that, which I'm much more familiar with. I'm more like 93%. This one is 95% because, again, this is a version of the book that was, this Journey of the West book was written for language learners deliberately using very simplified language. So I know many of the words, most of the words in this book. The Spanish one here is 86% known. Realistically, I actually know way more, but I just have been studying Spanish for less time in this kind of format. And so I don't have as good of a record of the words that I know for Spanish. As I kind of add more words that I know, then this will go up. This should probably be like 95+% because I know Spanish better than I do Chinese. And then if you go to some of these down here, these graded readers, again, these were written using very, very simplified language. And so I know about 100% of those words for almost all of these books. And then the other Harry Potter books here, you can see, pretty high. Okay, so this is the library view. I've spent enough time talking about this, I think. Let me go into what it looks like if I'm reading an actual book. And so let me open this one, which is, again, this is the 5th Harry Potter book, the Order of the Phoenix. So what happens when you are in here is you kind of get this view, right? Which is a view you would expect if you were reading kind of in a Kindle app type thing. Now, the difference is you'll see all this extra stuff, right? So first of all, I do have a menu up here. This button up here takes you back to the library. So if I just click there, you see that you're on the library. This check mark, let me ignore that for a second. This is the table of contents. This is some stats about the book in terms of how well I know words in the book, basically. So this known check mark is kind of my highest level of words that I know. Like, these are the words I know best. Then I've basically used a scoring going all the way down to unseen, which is these blue words are words that I've never seen before, or at least that I don't have recorded in my database of words that I've even encountered, let alone know. There's some words that I've set to ignore because sometimes basically this app calls certain things a word and it's not really a word, like if you look at it. And so I decided to basically just ignore those. And then you can see there's the ones in the middle that just have a ranking based on how well I know them. If you use an app like LingQ or really any other app that uses this kind of scheme, you'll kind of recognize what this is. And then I have a settings menu here, which I can change things like font size. I can turn on coloring for Chinese tones. I can toggle that on and off, so you can see that. So when I have it on, basically how this works is green is the third tone, red is the first tone, yellow is the second tone, and then blue is the fourth tone. Right now I'm reading with those off right now. And then I have some other stuff here, but I won't go into that right now. And then at the bottom, you see I have like a progress tracking both at the chapter level and at the book level. So what happens is, you're reading stuff. And so then what are the language learning features that I have implemented into this? So the first thing is whenever you click on a word, you'll get this pop-up. And this pop-up has the Chinese like characters in the word. It has the pinyin. It has a one-word definition of that word. It has a star ranking. This is like a 1 to 5 scale. Basically what I've done for this scale and like also this other data here that you see is I have a bunch of stats on how common these words are, both in the book. So this means that this word is very common. It appears 117 times in this book. But then I've also, over time, I've assembled what I'm calling a corpus of other books, text, subtitles, files, etc., of Chinese content that I am consuming in some way. And that corpus has 3.6 million words in it right now. Like it's a lot of words, and I haven't actually read or consumed all of it, but it's a lot. So what this is doing is it's saying, okay, this word appears 5,634 times in that entire corpus of Chinese text, right? And so then this is 5,000 out of 3.6 million. I don't know if that sounds like a lot to you or not, but I've given a 5-star ranking because this is actually one of the most common words in Chinese. So the very most common words get a 5-star ranking. The next most common words get a 4-star ranking, etc. So this is just this whole row of information here is really just for me to figure out like how common is this word, how important is this word both in the book and then in all the other stuff that I might be consuming in Chinese. This next row of numbers, this maps to the learning status. So the numbers I just showed you in this menu up here. This menu right here. This learning status, these numbers, that's what these map to again. So check mark means that I know this word very well. And for me, what that means is it means that it's a word that I put in my SRS flashcard system that has been in there for a while, etc. 4 is words that I know fairly well, but maybe I don't have a flashcard on it yet. And so I'm not counting it as the fully known yet. And then all the way down to 0 would be the ones that I've never seen before, or at least that my app has never seen before. Trash would be ones that I've decided to ignore. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4 are sort of the gradations in the middle. Then I have tags for whether I know all of the characters in a given word. So let me go to a compound word. So this one. Right now I have this tagged as partial characters known because basically I know the second character. Like I'd be able to read that, but the first character is new for me, right? If you go to a word like this, well, right now it's marked as partial characters, but it should actually be full characters because I know both of these characters, right? If I go to a word like this is a much more common word. Well, this one isn't tagged at all. Some of them aren't tagged, but this should be tagged characters known. This isn't super important, but for a while I was using these tags to help me. And then I have this button called Set as Current Sentence, and this gets to this little red thing that you see here. This is what I'm calling like a visual bookmark. And so whenever I'm reading, like let's say I started reading this chapter, I've read to the end of this paragraph, and maybe I need to go, I need to stop reading, I need to go do something else. Well, I want to be able to remember where I was on the page. And so if I do Set as Current Sentence, it moves this visual bookmark to the place that I'm at. So this is just a bit of a way for me to figure out where I am in the book to remember. Okay, so then the other thing that you'll see is there are underlines on certain words. You'll see most of the words are not underlined. And so the way that I have it set up is if it's not underlined at all, that means that it's this kind of most known score. These are words that I know very well. So no underlines. If I go to a word like this is a score of 4, I know it less well. It's like a very faint gray underline. If I go to a word like this is a score 3. It's just like a little bit of a more yellow line. If I go to a word like this is a score of a 1. This is a word that I've seen before, but I don't really know very well. So, and then if I go to a word like this is a word that is a score of 0, a word that, according to this app, I've never seen before, and so that gets blue. And so as I'm going through, like, you can see, like, most of the words are actually words that I know very well. Some are words that I've seen before, but I don't necessarily know well. And then some, there's a couple words that I've just never seen before, apparently. Okay, the other main feature is that I wanted the ability to translate each sentence as I go along. And so the way I have it implemented is a little bit of a hidden thing, but if I scroll over the last punctuation in a given sentence, like if this period, for instance, you'll see the entire sentence highlights. I click on that, and then I get another pop-up that has, really, this is the sentence in Chinese, this is the translation of the sentence, and then I also have like 1 to 2 sentences of like grammar explanation. Like, basically the way I have this set up is if there's some tricky grammar in the sentence, I've tried to have it set up so that it can explain what that grammar is, right? So this is not extremely tricky grammar, but this is an example. Let me see if I go to a sentence like, this one. That's not a good one. Let me go to a sentence like this one. Yeah, well, anyway, so this last thing around like explaining some of the tricky points in the sentence, it's not very useful. Like, I could probably cut it. Occasionally it's useful, so I've left it. So you might be wondering, like, where's all this information coming from? In terms of especially things like these definitions, and then also if I hover over the sentence, right, these translations, like, where's this all coming from? So this is all, the definitions and the translations are all generated with AI, I'm using the OpenAI's models. And the way that I've set this up, just in case you're curious of the technical details, I have essentially created my own book format. So it's kind of like an EPUB format, like if you're familiar with e-readers, but it's my own customized version. And it basically has all this information baked in. So it's got like all the words in each chapter. It's got all the definitions of those words. One thing I didn't mention, but that you can kind of see here, is that over the characters that I don't know, you'll see that there's the pinyin as well, right? So if it doesn't have a pinyin over it, it means that I know those characters. So again, this is the simplified version of Harry Potter, number 5. I actually know most of the characters here pretty well. Not like, even if some of these I actually don't know well, even though it says I know well, but for the most part, I should know them, right? But the Pinyin is in this special book format, and then the translations for each sentence. And it's all done in advance. And basically what happens is I send this entire book to ChatGPT, or rather to the OpenAI API, and I do all the pre-processing in advance of defining all the words, translating all the sentences. So you can see, when I click on a word, it's immediate, right? There are other services out there where they will have a similar functionality where they will have like AI-based definitions, but it's always lag time because they are sending that data to the API for the AI model in real time, and there's lag time involved in that. Because they're doing it real time, they don't have the ability to pre-process, because it could there could be any text that you're using, right? For me, it's just for my own personal use. I know what books I'm reading. And so I set it up so I could pre-process it. So that has the nuts and bolts of the app, right? And so so that's the nuts and bolts. So it works on desktop. It also works on mobile. Let me just show you over my iPad really quickly what this looks like. If I have my iPad here and I'm just scrolling, you can see it looks like basically the same interface. If I go into a book, I'm going to essentially see the same thing here in a second. On iPad, it does sometimes, like the first load of a book does take a while because it's a long story, but in order to get the pages to work correctly, like when I'm flipping between pages, which I just realized maybe I didn't show, but I'll show it here. I need to do some like pre-work when I open a chapter for the first time to get basically the pages to show up correctly. So you can see I'm scrolling between pages, right? In order for it to know where the page boundaries are, it needs to do some work in advance. It's not ideal, but like basically the first time it's going to take a long time to load. But if I open the book for the second time, you should notice that it's much faster because it's already cached the work that was just done. But otherwise, it's kind of the same interface, right? Like I click on a word, I get the same definitions, right? And then, so that's on iPad. And then just to show you, it does work on phone as well. So let me just show you that. So I go into the app, loading books. The interface does look slightly different, just modified for mobile, but it's basically the same thing. I click in. It's probably going to take a minute or so this first time I'm loading it. And you see I got to do some like page loading work ahead of time, but essentially it's the same experience, right? Like I can scroll through, I can click on a word. There's like not as much room on mobile, so I do prefer the experience on desktop or on iPad if I can do it, but the mobile version is good for if I'm on the go. Okay, so that is the app, and I just wanted to show you all that. I don't fully know the purpose of this video other than just to, I guess number one would be that before I went into this, I didn't realize that it was actually possible to make something like this using AI tools. And just in case you're curious, let me just show you what this looks like, right? Like I'm not gonna go into all the details of this, but basically I did this in Cursor. And so if you're a developer of some sort, you probably already know about this. If you're not, then basically the gist of what happens is you have these two panels are sort of a normal development environment, right? Where like you can be writing code if you were not using AI. And the one thing that gets added is this right-hand bar, which is this chat view. And basically what happens here is this is an AI chat, kind of like if you just went into ChatGPT, you can like type stuff down here. Now the difference between this and ChatGPT is I can write stuff in here and ask it to look at my code base, and I can also ask it to take actions on my behalf. So I can ask it to write code, I can ask it to fix bugs, I can ask it to like do, whatever I would normally do if I were developing this myself. And so using kind of this method, I was able to get a lot of help from AI on, first of all, even knowing how to set up the app in terms of technically like what is the setup going to be. And then I would estimate that about 95% of the actual code was written by AI. I was checking it all along the way, and it still took me many months to get to this point. So I was still very involved, and it was a lot of work. But the actual code writing was mostly done with AI. So I guess the first thing is I just was surprised that you could do something like this with AI. And I wanted to make sure that, to the degree that that's surprising to people or maybe inspires you to go build something on your own, the state of AI tools today, you may be able to just build something if it's something that you want and it's not out there. So you should give it a try. And so maybe one last thing you may be wondering, like, am I actually using this? And the answer is yes. It's like, I actually am using this like pretty much every day. As I mentioned a couple times, it is my main platform I'm using when I am reading stuff. It's pretty much completely replaced my use of LingQ, which is what I was using before for this purpose. So that'll do it for this video. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the comments below. If you want access to this, if you're learning Chinese, let me know. Right now, this is just a personal project. I don't really have any large ambitions beyond that, but if I get a few people who want access, I can probably just give it to you directly, kind of like I did my friend James, so just let me know. All right, thanks a lot. Peace.